I'll just tell you from our vantage point what happened. We were on the press risers, which were positioned in the center of the venue as usual, just behind the seated section of the audience. We were actually finishing up filming a stand-up as the former president began his speech. Again, all as usual. My producer, Bianca, and I started to walk down the stairs from the riser just to grab our laptops when we suddenly heard those loud cracking pops that are now so familiar from that video we've been playing over and over again of that devastating moment. We, like many of the people that we interviewed afterwards, initially thought it might be fireworks. You know, sometimes former president's events have pyrotechnics. But when those sounds kept going and then when Mr. Trump stopped speaking, we took cover behind some stage equipment, again, thinking it was just a precaution. And we experienced the sort of rapid roller coaster of emotion alongside the crowd. It went from a standard political event. People were cheering, buying merchandise and food, dancing to the song YMCA, which often comes on just before the former president makes his entrance. It went from that to confusion and chaos as those sounds rang out. And then fear set in when we realized that this could actually be gunshots, something we never imagined. We were still taking cover when we heard those cheers from the crowd that you could hear in the video as the former president raised his fist into the air with blood on his face and was taken to safety by Secret Service. And Kristen, in those moments, for anyone who wasn't sort of front and center, who saw people get injured, one unfortunately ultimately killed, it wasn't immediately clear to us how dangerous and deadly the situation really was. So some people in the crowd began to leave the scene, but others, they stuck around. And we got back up on the press risers, reunited with our crew, who was thankfully safe, and we began reporting live. And one thing that struck me in those moments, it was after that some people in the crowd started to come to the risers. They started to get heated with the press. And this struck me as I was thinking back to these moments, because we've been talking about sort of the division and polarization that's an inevitable part of this story, right? And this crowd gathered near the media, started blaming the press for what had just happened, some screaming at journalists and getting pretty aggressive. Of course, emotions were running high in that moment.